Hey everyone. So we got some really big changes to go over today, so hopefully it won't go too long as I make this video. But our subject of today is Itsuki. And Itsuki is a unit that just went from 0 to hero, and we're going to be going over why and reviewing a couple unique things about her and what makes her so great and why her, and I'll be doing a later video of Suzuka, are pretty much game changers. And before we go over anything else, let's just take a nice look at her Valentine's outfit that I've got going on here with her new Job Plus pose. I mean, it's a nice and simple outfit. I enjoy it. I'd like to see her OG skin a little more probably, but I mean, this will do for now. And she does this nice little flip when you click on her. It's really cute. Alright, so let's get down to business and start with her Kaigan. So, Itsuki was never really that good. I mean, water didn't have a lot of options for the longest time, so she was an okay option. But as water got more and more good Kaigans, Itsuki really started to fall off, and her Kaigan just was really nothing to write home about. Or at least it wasn't when it first came out. And that's partially because of her Gate 2. And like always, you want 5 into Gate 1. And her Gate 2, it's not bad, it's just not great. She only got 25% HP, which does help her because she's on the squishier side of things. But what she really needed was some more attack, unfortunately, at that point in time, and she didn't get it. Now, as for her Gate 3, she was looking at 40% HP and 20 water with 5 evasion, which is basically the same leader skill that Jin has, except for water. The only problem being is that Ong and Yoras both just have better leader skills, so they're just better options to max that gate for. So at this point, Itsuki was a 5-5-3 unit, or a 5-2-3 unit, depending on your resources. However, Gate 4 and Gate 5 have now come out in Japan, and so there's a small update. I still believe that the first 3 gates should be 5-5-3 or 5-5-4 at this point. We have more Sin resources. There's no excuse not to max Gate 2 anymore. But now we have Gates 4 and 5 to worry about. Now, Gate 4 is a little closer to resembling Gate 1, just without the damage, but it has a heavier focus on HP. And you do get a little physical attack and dex when you actually max it out, but it has a new Sin material that is very expensive, as well as the Elemental Crystal, which is also very expensive. I don't think it's worth maxing right now, but raising this to 4 is probably a good idea. Now, as for Gate 5, this gate will alter one of the skills on each of your jobs. Now, in Itsuki's case, at this point in time, there's really no reason to run her on anything other than her Job Plus. And her Job Plus will have a dual attack that drains jewels and gives her a small buff and a relatively long-ranged TP. I do think that this is probably going to be worth maxing if you have the resources, but if you don't have the resources, I also don't think it's the end of the world if you don't have it. So as for Itsuki's old suggestion, 5-5-3, and for my new suggestion, I do 5-5-3-4-5. Probably. It's really hard to say. The gates are still very new, and we don't know what kinds of units will be coming out with more gates soon. I'm sure a lot of you have heard we have the Radiant Historia collab going on right now. So there's just a lot of resources that we need right now. It's already, as I'm sure you've noticed, my gems were decimated. That's because Itsuki's one of my favorites. So when I saw that she got her own Nenso and was getting her Job Plus, I told myself if it was a 9-step, I would 9-step. And sure enough, it was a 9-step, and sure enough, I did not get lucky. So now I only have 5k gems, but I guess that's okay. I haven't pulled on anything really for a while, so I guess it all works out. Now, moving on to her Nenso. Itsuki has a new limited Valentine's Nenso, which features her eating, I believe, chocolate with hot sauce. Now, because it's brand new and I didn't want to get my VCR percent to 100 with just mech ratties alone, I can use the VCR stage that's available and save myself at least 4. I decided to not get this for today, but I still wanted to get the video out. So, unfortunately, you're not going to get to see the damage with this VCR, but the VCR itself, in case you were wondering, is plus 10 all damage to water, plus 10 hit rate, plus 50 bind resistance, and plus 50 slow resistance, and it seems to be limited to female Watatsumi units. And since it's giving you water all damage, what that really means is it's limiting you to Rin and Unagi, because Ren is the only other viable water Watatsumi unit that I can think of. And the VCR is going to be coming with a attack, which appears to be a 4-hit attack with a 3-line AoE that is orthogonal, or like the other direction from the line that it shoots out from. If you've seen me use Eurus's VCR attack, it's the same attack. It just a different scaling with a different number of hits. But the actual area itself is the same. And it does extra damage to males. So there's that, I guess. It's extra male damage or extra female damage isn't super useful, but you know, you never know. It might come in handy. Now, as for the Nenso itself, its base stats, 24 attack power. We like attack power. The real genius comes in the Watatsumi buff, in which case she is giving all Watatsumi units a base 19 fire exploit, and that's it. Limit break 0. 19 fire exploits. So it's actually kind of similar to the Eurus Nenso already. Just it's more expensive to get and it's limited, unfortunately. Fire special attack is a good stat, especially because most of the Watatsumi units that are water have access to water attacks to abuse it. It's a very powerful stat to have in a Nenso. And surprisingly, it's not like super hard lock behind max limit break. Now, as for the next group, there is the 327 HP with the, one moment, what is it here? Okay, it's the 327 HP and the single target attack modifier. And this is a Itsuki only group. Little Ouroboros technically gets it, but we don't really care about her because she doesn't use those stats. And this is basically going to give Itsuki the HP she wants, as well as upping the damage on her Toad's cast skill. Now, the other group here is for Eve and Itsuki, and it is going to give 6 agility, 49 dex, and 24 defense. And of course, all of these stats get upgraded as you get limit breaks, but seeing as it's a seasonal limited Nenso, every time you see a seasonal limited Nenso, you should just assume if I get it, it's going to be limit break 0 unless I get insanely lucky, or I am a space whale. As for the vision ability down here, the one vision ability you can ignore because this is the producers of Takatame basically saying F you to all free-to-plays and saying if you have max limit break, you get 10 additional speed on your Nenso. And it's a load of bull, but we kind of just ignore it. It isn't going to make much of a difference outside the highest tiers of PvP and Arena. Now, as for this other weapon ability, I will show you what that does in the map itself, but it is a good weapon, a vision ability, rather. The only catch is it is restricted to Itsuki, so it's not like other vision abilities, like the Jin vision ability. You can't use it on other units. It's pretty much hard locked to Itsuki. Now to go over her other gear, I choose the Clock Up Kunai, and I don't remember what these are called in Global, but the Clock Up Kunai give us a lot of what we want, the 50 attack and the 10 speed mostly, and I believe that is 10 jewel gain if I remember correctly. All of these are things that Itsuki wants. Unfortunately, because of Itsuki's setup, she needs to have speed on her weapon. Otherwise, she could easily also use the starting jewel dagger, which this is not a 5-star dagger, or kunai rather, but it functions similar to the way the hat functions in global. It gives you a ridiculous amount of starting jewels on characters that can use kunai, and doing so lets you do things like nuke turn 1, and that's the only reason you use them. It doesn't give any speed, and it gives a lot less attack power. Definitely, clock up kunai are the way to go in my opinion, especially because at the very least for now, I don't believe Itsuki should be running her speed passive, but I'll go over that a little bit more in just a moment. Now, as for her armor, trusty old regen armor, that is always going to be one of, if not the best choice. But because you are a spy, you do have access to the Kudito VCR, which is 400 HP, 50 defense, and minus 15 cast time reduction. And Itsuki has some instant casts in her kit now, so it's not like all her damage is locked to charge up times or charge times. However, she still does have charge time attacks. This isn't a bad idea, especially considering cast time reduction. Like, there is no other gear I can think of off the top of my head that gives that. And being able to attack faster when you have a charge time, that's always a nice thing to have. Of course, there are other options too. Rainbow Vita armor works as well. You can use basically anything that has HP at this point, but regen armor and the spy armor VCR from Kudito's Denso are both probably going to be your top tier options. Now, as for her third piece of equipment, we're looking at the VCR, the hot sauce bottle, because apparently hot sauce and chocolate go together. I actually have a funny story about a place I worked with in college that did a hot sauce, chocolate hot sauce, and it just went over horribly on the wings they were serving it on. But it's a story for another time, because this video is probably already going to be running long. Now, let's say now I did not get the Nenso because I'm free to play, or I didn't get lucky, or I'm not 9-stepping it because I don't like Itsuki as much as Mao clearly likes Itsuki, and Itsuki has always been one of my faves. Other options you can run, the Dex pendant is not a bad option. Remember that spies scale partially on Dex and speed, and the extra crit is never a bad thing to have. And you also get the damage resistance for the first few turns, which means makes it a little easier for Itsuki to safely collect some jewels. Now, for other options, she already has the attack and speed, assuming that you have the clock up kunai, so anything with Dex is fine. Another option is the Saint Meteor, and like always, it gives you heal. Heal is good, right? But the one thing that spies can do that a lot of other classes can't is, while they scale off of physical damage, the Wind AoE and the Toad Nuke, those are both considered magic modifier despite scaling off of physical attack on spies. So you can actually run the Fiona VCR and get an additional 10 damage modifier on those two attacks still. So you can still up the damage on those two attacks even if you don't have Itsuki's VCR, and this is probably going to be your best option, at least in my opinion. When I did old Itsuki test builds, I almost always included this in it. 20 hit rate, that's also really freaking good. And if you're running raid, the Levi Cup is still going to be one of your go-tos, or anything with giant modifier is still going to be a high value item. Let's say you don't have the clock up kunai, run a piece of speed gear along with the Vita ring, or if you have it, you could always run the Ott swimsuit VCR if you manage to get that on your hands. But that's pretty much it for options. Teddy's always an option. Never forget Teddy. Teddy is always a good option if you have the space, or if you're missing something. So Itsuki is one of the first units to get 3 Job Plus / JEs. And that has put her in a rather unique position. She has a lot more HP now compared to many other units similar to her. But honestly, the only thing that's changed is really just that you need more equipment now to max her out, but when you do, you get things like her stat values here on the left, where you see I don't have Gate 2 max, so her HP is lower than it should be, and she has 1100 physical attack, and she's boasting 165 speed. A very good unit overall. You'll notice I don't have a reactive max. It's just because I've been maxing Suzuka to get her ready for a video, and the reactive on Itsuki doesn't matter nearly as much. She doesn't have any good reactives, really. Remember that the Fudo reactive is just going to be bad most of the time because you have to drop below, what is it, like 25% before it actually does anything. So it's meh. I mean, it's not awful, but it's... I'd rather get the slight drain effect and chance to clock stop on the Spy reactive myself. Now, you will be running her with her Job Plus main, and while I don't necessarily think the Spy sub is a bad thing, it is definitely more situational. I would run her with the Holy Brawler sub, and one of the reasons we love the Holy Brawler sub is obviously it has that insane charge up, but also it has an AoE status cure, and that is always good. That's honestly, when I'm on a map where I really don't want to have to bring a Veil, but I know I have to deal with status, I always bring someone with the Holy Brawler sub because they can cleanse status. Now, you're going to be running Overdrive because that is the HP buff you get from Gate 2 that I don't have yet, and as of now, I've decided that it is worth running her other DK passive because that is going to give her even more physical attack, and in the current Japan meta, you want to be hitting your numbers. You really want to be hitting your numbers. That's super important. This passive here is worth over 100 physical attack if I remember correctly, so 936... to 1102. So that's like 100, it's more than 160 physical attack. It's completely worth it. You could run her speed passive if you really want her to go faster, or you could run her movement passive if you want her to be able to reach something turn 1. Those are optional, but I definitely say more situational than the current setup I have. This is the setup I'd have at the very least once she has her Job Plus in 5 gates. Before that, I don't even know why you're raising Itsuki before that. So, there's that. As far as my opinion goes on Itsuki before she gets these updates, because these updates are indeed a long time coming for Global. And one of the reasons I wanted to make this video is I wanted to drive the point home that these updates are not going to happen soon in Global. So you should not, like, start farming Itsuki the moment she gets her hard quest in Global. You should focus on other units first, unless Itsuki is your only water unit. And there's nothing ever wrong with raising a unit to 75 to make them more usable than they were. So you never feel bad about raising a unit you like. There are very few units in this game that are just straight up awful. And if I could find a good one to use, whatever, I'll just clear this out. And so yeah, as I was saying, if you like a unit, raise it. That's all I have to say. If you like a unit, raise it, because the game's all about having fun, and if your favorite unit is sitting on the bench forever, it doesn't feel as fun. And that's one of the reasons why my Itsuki is as high as it is. While Itsuki was definitely not a high priority for me, because she was not as good as other water units, I still took the time to raise her as much as I could. Now, a while ago, I did have to bench her for other options, because she was becoming worse and worse in the meta. And I really needed some better units, so I put her on the bench, and if I had extra AP in a given day, I would give her hard quest to farm. If I needed to waste a little bit more, or if I dropped below a certain level of hard quest, she would get put back in, which is how I got to where she's at now. But it's definitely been a process, and she's definitely not as far as I'd like. If I had known she'd be getting this Job Plus, I would have started farming her again months ago, and she would have been maxed out pretty much today. But anyway, so let's take a look at what Itsuki can do, because this is definitely what we all wanted to see. And I believe I turned animations on before this, so if not, I'll hop out because I've been doing this video for so long now, I definitely don't want to have to redo it. So to start with, I am going to actually collect some jewels here, because spies don't have the best starting jewels, but what they do have is insane jewel gain. And I decided to use Eurus to start, just because I would generally lead with a Eurus-like leader skill. The only other leader skill I would possibly use is Ankh, and my Ankh isn't quite there yet. Or I would use my Mikasa, but Mikasa would probably not be used in really high-end content like Neo Vita, because she is a little squishy because she doesn't have Kaigan. Alright, so, the kit. We're going to start with this attack here. And the reason I'm starting with this attack here is to show you that this says 20 damage, and this is going to be similar to the Pirate TP. And what the Pirate TP is basically is you use a set amount of jewels, and you TP to your target, and when you get there, you suck back the jewels plus a couple extra, so you net like a couple extra jewels, nothing major, but you get places. And as you can see, this, oops, wrong attack. This has a lot of range. You can cover a lot of ground, but the catch is you TP behind a unit, so you do have to be careful. And this also does inflict paralysis, and it is a 3-turn paralysis for the enemy, and it'll also give you a 20% physical attack buff. So this is kind of like a mini charge up of sorts. However, 20% physical attack, that's peanuts, right? Well, if you max your Wrath Gate, or in other words, Gate 5, that becomes a 30 jewel attack, so she's going to net herself 13 jewels instead, and she will get a 50% attack bonus for 3 turns. So, if she runs out of charge-ups, this is what you go to, and it is a multi-turn buff, I believe. Yes, it is a multi-turn buff. So, once you're out of charge-ups, you can use this, and you can get more mileage out of your Itsuki. So let's go ahead and give that a show here. And it's just like that. She's gotten herself a couple extra jewels. Not many, because I don't have the Wrath Gate maxed. And she's gotten somewhere and has inflicted the enemy with paralysis. Now, this first skill here is still going to be your evade buff that you basically use to survive a turn if you have the jewels and you need to survive a turn. This 28 jewel attack here, this is the Veil. That hasn't changed, but you'll notice that there's this brand new water attack right here. So I am going to show this off last because you cannot see the damage, because this is actually a TP. And you do damage around yourself and you TP, and it is instant cast. So she has some extra water damage, and the one thing you're going to notice about Itsuki is she gets around everywhere. And also notice that it is typeless. It scales off a physical attack and has the water element, but it doesn't use any damage modifiers. So the plus 10 water would definitely affect it, not because it's a water attack, but because Itsuki is a water unit. But the Fiona VCR would not affect this, because unlike these two attacks down here, they don't use spell modifiers. So I will show that off last. Now, the wind attack here is the same dragon attack that you see in the normal spy kit, so I'm not going to be going over it. And this is the same toad you see in the normal kit. However, the major difference being, instead of 1 cast, Itsuki gets 3. And that's huge, because one of the biggest problems with the spy kit, as it was originally set up, is that it had a very small number of casts that you could use before your spy basically was reduced to either using normal attacks or whatever you could fit on your sub. And one of the reasons why Jin became so powerful is because he has that 20 jewel skill, and I will be going over Jin in the near future, that basically makes the next spell he casts cost 0 jewels, so you don't have to gather as many jewels, and it'll be instant cast. And what that also means is that when you use that skill, it uses a different counter than the original skill cast count. So Jin can actually cast the toad 3 times as well if he wants to. I don't know why you would, because the Dark AoE looks a lot more tempting on Jim than the Toad, but there have been maps where I've had to kill fire units where that has come in handy. Now, that is almost it for the new stuff on our kit. The only exceptions are, you're going to see we have these things here, and I am not even entirely sure what this is here, but this is probably related, this first attack here is probably related to her Clock Up Kunai, and I'm not going to be going over it, because I know it's not part of any of the new stuff. Now you'll see they have this 70 joule fire attack, and I'm sure you're wondering what this could be. And what this is it's an attack that's related to the Kudato VCR. Now remember, the Kudato VCR can only be used by kunai wielders from Watatsumi. So Kudato, Reimei, Itsuki, and Hayate come to mind as spy users and ninja users from Watatsumi that would probably end up using something like this. Maybe not so much Reimei, but you could use them like that. And we also have this 22 joule attack, and this is not a really high damage attack, but what it does is it's basically just a TP, and this should be related to the VCR, not the VCR, the Nenso. There's definitely a lot of stuff to go over today. And while the scaling itself isn't that high, one of the new BS things they've done is they have the scaling of the attacks on the VA related to the max limit break. So at limit break 0, it's only 120%, and at max it's 160. But it's not why we use this attack. This attack is a plus 50% agility TP, so it works like a lot of the other agility up TPs, where the whole purpose of using it is to gain some distance and hit a unit and get the speed up, so your turn comes faster. So it's all about the movement with that attack. All about the movement. Now, I only have one more attack to show off here, and at least that you haven't seen yet, and that's this 20 joule attack right here. But before I show that off, I am going to charge up so I can show off her big numbers. And one of the reasons why Itsuki is now great. And it is also nice to have the clock up kunai, because as you noticed, I got clocked up super early, so I'm already moving pretty fast. Alright, so we're charged up. Let's see what we can do. Let's start with this wind attack here. 6k, 6k, 6k on fire, and 6k on thunder. So 6k AoEs. The wind attack obviously isn't going to be that great on a water unit, because obviously you're weak to electric, and they're strong against you. So your damage basically goes even with a regular unit. And also, it doesn't do as much damage to a fire unit because it's wind, but Itsuki is water. So it kind of just all evens out and everything does the same damage. But 6k AoE like this, that's not bad. That really isn't. Now this is where the real damage comes in, right? So, neutral units, meh. Weak units, meh. Fire units, holy crap. 17k. 17k. That's a lot of damage. Now I want you to remember something here. When you cast this Toad skill, it's going to do water resistance down on the enemy. So if you cast the Toad skill once, and then you charge up, and then you cast it again, it's going to do even more damage the next time. Not to mention, if you're running any other kind of support character or offensive character that's already debuffed the unit, you're going to be looking at even more damage. It's probably not going to be too overly difficult to hit almost 20k damage with Itsuki now on a single target. But let's not forget, she does have one more skill in her kit. And that's the TP here. And I'm going to try to TP close to this fire unit so you can see the damage. I'm on speed up, so it's going to go by quick, so pay attention. And I honestly didn't even see it myself, it went so fast, but if you go back through the video, you'll probably be able to see it, especially if you slow the video down. That's one of the issues with running it on very high speeds, is you do have a hard time seeing numbers like that. But it is what it is. And that, my friends, is the new and improved Itsuki. Now, I've said it before, Itsuki has always been one of my favorite units, design-wise, and it's definitely super nice to finally have her be good for a change. At this point in time, I really don't have much else to add to Itsuki. I will probably release a video later with her VCR attack if it has an interesting animation, and if it doesn't, I'm going to refrain from doing it. I'm sorry I could not get a hold of that VCR today. It's just I want to save the resources if possible. But it is what it is, and it's I'm gonna try to keep this really short because this video is already gone on super long. I will also be doing Suzuka, maybe today if I have time, and assuming my boss doesn't call me in, I will definitely try to get Suzuka in today at least, and I will be going over some stuff about the Radiant Historia collab, and I will also show off Ott's new Nenso / VCR because I have some thoughts on that. And that's probably going to be the next video I do, just to kind of keep you guys updated what's going on in Japan. Every time we get a new update, I'd like to do like a small to medium-sized video on some of the changes and just some of the new stuff, just so that way you guys can understand what Japan is going through, and what's to look forward to or not to look forward to, or stuff that you want to voice concern about, or stuff that you want to encourage Gumi to do. I just figured I'd go ahead and do that. If we take a look here at Itsuki's art, I think it's pretty cute. And I'll hop into the Nenso's page here and just show off her Nenso art, because once again, I'm super happy I got this. I'm just super sad I had to do a 9-step in order to get it. Although I guess I did get the Ott limited Nenso this time around, so it's not everything is awful. I just don't have the resources to raise Ott. And if you take a look at her VCR, Eve is obviously completely horrified as Itsuki has been dipping her chocolate in hot sauce. And, I just, chocolate and hot sauce, man, I don't know about that one. I've not heard good things about the attempts that have been tried. But, there you go. There's the Nenso art itself. And I am probably going to call it wraps here. I will have at least one more video for you today. If not 2, and maybe even more, because it is my day off, and I work for like 7 or 8 days in a row after this, so I'll get videos out if I can, but I'll probably be pretty tired. Anyways, guys, sorry to keep you here for so long, if you've made it this far, that is. Thanks for watching as always. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I hope to see you next time.